So you're a perfect guy to ask this. You came up, you were 21, 22, then a whole bunch of other guys came up, Calderon, Danny Tartable, all early 20s. Mets now have a little infusion with the three quote-unquote babies.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you, being a young guy with a couple of other young guys on the team and the energy they brought to that team?
It helped. I mean, no doubt, having familiarity with guys that you played with and got to know. But I think the biggest thing was the veteran guys. You got to have some guys that can carry the load for you and be able to explain things to you. I think it's real difficult for a young player to feel like he's got to be the franchise leader, especially in a big market. So that makes it a little more difficult. But you look at the guys now, the Mets are infusing all these young players. They've got some really established veteran guys that are all-star players that know how to communicate. So I think that's why it works.
Who was that guy for you in Seattle when you came up that kind of told you, this is how we do this?
Well, I had a lot of guys. Dave Henderson, Al Cowens, Richie Zisk. I mean, I can go on and on because I was at one point, I was the youngest and the only single guy on the team. So I was picking everybody's brain. But the biggest impact was Julio Cruz, and I didn't play with Julio. He was the second baseman before me, and I had spring trainings with him. He taught me how to break in my glove. He taught me how to do pivots. He taught me the bats I should probably use. And every night we'd have different things that I might have done in the Major League game that he watched and said, hey, here's what I think you need to work on. So when he went to other teams and I finally broke into the big leagues, I'd still call Julio and ask him certain things. So he had the biggest impact on me.
So two of the young guys for the Mets at third baseman, Eduardo Escobar has been unbelievable in the way he's mentored these guys, even though he knows these guys are taking his job. How difficult is that for a veteran to put ego aside and just do everything for the betterment of the team? And how much does that foster a winning attitude on the team?
Well, that was the code back in the day. So you can say Eduardo's a throwback. I taught Brett Boone how to turn a pivot. I knew he was going to take my job. Julio Cruz taught me how to turn the pivot. He knew I was going to take his job. That was kind of what you did. You passed it on. You passed your knowledge on. And what it speaks is confidence in who I am. Eduardo knows he's not finished. He may be done in the Mets at some point in time, but he's passed that on. He'll continue making the adjustments and play a few more years or whatever. But you got to pass on the things that you have. That's why you love the game. And if you love the game and truly enjoy the sport, you pass on your knowledge and your wisdom.
Speaking of young guys, I saw you FaceTiming with one of the youngest guys that came up and was an instant superstar in Ken Griffey Jr. What was it like seeing such a young player with so much pressure on him and so much hype live up to that hype?
Well, the biggest thing we try to do is be his big brothers, and really kind of take that pressure off him, let him have fun. He was very mature for his age in baseball. He understood the game, but everything else going on around him, this is before the internet and everything else, people converged on Junior. And fortunately, I feel like looking back now, we had a major impact on him. To be able to have guys he could talk to and eat dinner with and hang out with, play cards on the flights. And we had some tough lessons. He learned a lot of things in game where situations came up that he might have done it differently. We had real strong conversations on certain things. And I think it helped shape and mold the man that he became and also the ball player.
Lastly, pace of play, big thing, big topic this year. How do you think you would have fared, pitch clock, as a batter? How would you have handled it, and how do you think your career might have been with these type of rules, especially, shorter bases as well, being a great base stealer that you were?
Well, I think you're watching the pace that we played. It wasn't a lot of stepping out thinking and all the numbers that kind of come into this generation. But this generation has learned and grown up on video, learned and grown up on numbers, so they think more than we did. It was get in the box, all right, what did he do to me last time? What's that breaking ball look like? How's his fastball? Let's go. And now they're processing the counts and what he threw last time. He had a 2-1 count and thinking that way. It's just a different time, different generation.